Okay, Vanessa, let's just as quickly as we can run through this, because sticking with the organ trafficking situation, a bit of a scandal's developed in the United States.
Yeah, so again, what is quite interesting here is while the West is kind of pointing their finger at Russia for effectively, child trafficking, this is going on at Harvard. And Harvard has some very spurious links, which we're going to look at now. But this story broke, I think, yesterday. So Harvard Medical School former morgue manager, Cedric Lodge, accused of selling stolen body parts. And he was indicted, I think, alongside 7 other people, including his wife. But if we look at what that involved, so prosecutors say that Cedric Lodge stole heads, brains, skin, bones, and other human remains without the knowledge or permission, allegedly, of Harvard, and removed those remains from the morgue in Massachusetts and transported them to his residence in New Hampshire, where apparently he sold them online. Dean of the Faculty of Medicine, George Daly, and Dean for Medical Education, Edward Hundert, put out a statement that we are appalled to learn that something so disturbing could happen on our campus, a community dedicated to healing and serving others. Well, let's just see how much weight that statement carries. So let's have a look, first of all, at a foundation that was established in 1992. The founder was Pamela Frade, her husband, Peter Frade. And Peter Frade was accused by his daughter of sexual abuse when she was a child. The False Memory Syndrome Foundation was established with links to Harvard and to Alan Dershowitz, who has been a professor at Harvard for the last 50 years and who was featured on this site after he was accused of being involved with Epstein and sexual abuse. And then if we look at the false memory syndrome, how flawed science turned into conventional wisdom, it's worth noting that the foundation shut down in 2019, much to the relief of many people who suffered at its hands. And then let's see how it managed child abuse accusations, particularly satanic child abuse accusations. So given the state of the mental health field in the early 90s, the foundation strategy consisted of a 3-pronged approach: convincing the public that recovered memories of abuse were invariably false, recruiting prominent academics to serve as its public relations representatives, and punishing the relatively small cadre of therapists and academics who treated or who studied trauma survivors. Bessel van der Volk, a psychiatrist who was involved at this time, said that the lawsuits by the foundation had a chilling effect. While not all trauma therapists were sued, many of us suddenly felt under attack. In fact, the trauma center, the treatment facility, which he had established at Harvard's Massachusetts General Hospital in '84, was forced to close after he had testified as an expert witness for the prosecution in several cases involving delayed memories of abuse by priests. The late psychiatrist Edwin Kassem, a Jesuit priest who then served as chief of MGH's psychiatric department, wanted him out. After all, he was an advisor to Cardinal Bernard Law, then the Archbishop of Boston, who was forced to resign a decade later when the Boston Globe published a series of stories showing that Law had protected abusive priests. So this is the first case of spurious links to Harvard. Then you have Ted Kaczynski's connection to MK Ultra. He was basically the Unabomber who carried out a 17-year psychopathic bombing spree that killed 3 people and I think injured more than 20, and he died a few days ago. As a 16-year-old student at Harvard University, he participated in an experiment linked to the CIA's MK Ultra program. And Harvard accepted over $8 million in donations from Jeffrey Epstein. The university plans to redirect unused funds towards supporting victims of human trafficking and sexual assault. Well, how philanthropic of them, but let's just have a look at that. Harvard University says in an ongoing review, the university found it had accepted over $8 million from Jeffrey Epstein. To date, the review is said to have found donations by Epstein from 1998 to 2007 predating his conviction as a sex offender pedophile in Florida in 2008. The university says it plans to redirect 186,000 of an alleged 8 million in unspent funds towards organizations that help victims of sexual assault and human trafficking. But let's carry on. So in the Harvard Crimson in 2003, people in the news, Jeffrey Epstein. Then let's have a look at how much money Epstein had really contributed to Harvard. Donated 30 million this year in 2003 to Harvard for the founding of a mathematical biology and evolutionary dynamics program. Networking with the university's leading intellectuals, Epstein has spurred research through both discussions with and dollars contributed to various faculty members. So his connection to Harvard goes way back. And of course, Dershowitz was the lawyer who sprung Epstein on the sweetheart plea and had his sentence severely reduced. I would recommend two books. First of all, Whitney Webb's book on Epstein, and this is one of her articles from the book, Leslie Wexner's Young Global Leaders, and that talks about Epstein's connections to Harvard. And I would also recommend, I didn't put a slide for it, but Stephen Kinzer's The Chief Poisoner, which talks about MK Ultra and the inclusion of Nazi Sidney Gottlieb and also Japanese torture experts to perfect the MK Ultra project. Another connection to Harvard, Microsoft's Bill Gates funding Harvard scientists who plan to spray particles in the atmosphere to dim the sun. So Gates, again, has long-standing connections to Harvard. If you go to the Bill and Melinda Gates grant section on their website, you will see it goes back to 2008, pneumonia and pandemic preparedness, gender equality, global policy and advocacy, public awareness analysis, etc. You can go through all of them. There are, I think, more than 400 grants that have been given to Harvard. So quite extraordinary, in my view, this organ trafficking project. I think this guy, Lodge, Cedric Lodge, is a fool guy. I would be very, let's say, sure in speculation to say that there is more behind this, that he is the front guy for this, that quite possibly more was going on that is being admitted.
Okay, thank you, Vanessa. Okay, if you like what the UK Column does, you'd like to support us, please head over to community.ukcolumn.org. There are options to help us out there, very much needed and appreciated. Please also check out the items on the UK Column shop, but also you can share any material that you find on the various platforms, especially ukcolumn.org, ukcolumnextracts.co.uk. An event took place yesterday, Patrick, a NO2NATO event.
Yeah, a good organization here. This is hosted by Chris Williamson, former MP from Derby, who was kicked out of the Labour Party. And so this was especially, there was a great panel here. Obviously, everyone knows George Galloway, Chris Williamson, but Kit Clarenberg gave a really great presentation on what happened to him being detained under the Terrorism Act and the ramifications of that as well. So that's available on No2NATO's YouTube channel, but you also find it on their Twitter feed and all their other media outlets as well. So really good discussion and great contributions by all the panel members. And I was honored to be able to share the stage with those gentlemen as well.
Okay, thank you.